Hey guys, welcome to Beer and Bat Reps. Nick and Noah here, and we're doing a beer and banter. Although it is morning, so it's more like coffee and banter. We're not that crazy. So today we're going to talk about the Ultramarines, specifically how they fit into 8th edition at this point. People like to talk about the other chapters being more of that top tier, but don't sleep on the Ultramarines. So we're going to go into these characters.
Oh yeah, it's where their power is. Especially depending on your meta, they're just, as they should be, very flexible. Their named characters are kind of where a lot of their little tricks and power lies. First of all, Calgar, the chapter master, he's Primaris now, so he got even beefier. 8 wounds, 2 up armor, 4 up.
8 wounds?
Yeah, 8 wounds.
That's crazy.
He gets 6 attacks base, so he gets 7 with shock assault, and he has basically just power fists that aren't -1. So yeah.
So he's been seeing the table more because he's a lot less points than Goldman, right?
Yeah, well, he's 200, so him plus like a lieutenant is way cheaper.
Well,
you're saving
350,
100 points,
yeah,
or so,
that's
90
a lot.
points. So yeah, those two in conjunction are pretty good because he has a giant base. It's like a 40 mil or 50,
it's got to be bigger. It's
50 mil. It's big.
The Centurion size.
Yeah, so his aura is awesome.
Does he give command points like Goldman?
If he is your warlord, you get 2 command points. So
good.
Again, yeah, he's a lot more expensive than a captain, but he gives you 2 instead of taking away 2 to make the captain a chapter master. So,
yeah, I find anytime you can just pay points for a chapter master and save those command points, it's amazing. And that's a 4 command point swing with that. So.
Yeah, he's a lot of points. 10th of your army at 2,000, but he's probably worth it.
And with all the snipers out there, 8 wounds is nice.
Yeah, and speaking of snipers or stuff that can target characters, he allows you to bring, if Marnius is in your army, you can bring the Victrix Honor Guard, which are Ultramarine specific, and they're pretty cool. 3 wounds, 2 up save. Both of them have storm shields, so they're tough to just chew through. Plus, they can screen your character ball or whatever if you want to have a character run up there, because they also, if a friendly Ultramarines character within 3 inches loses a wound on a 2-up, they can absorb it and take a mortal wound.
So it's kind of like Mortarion and his bodyguards.
Yeah, or like drones for Tau, kind of.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're not as good as drones.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about drones.
But they can smash some stuff. 4 attacks each, so shock assault gives them 5. They're probably going to be by your characters, buffing them.
3 each.
3 wounds each. Nice. They are 30 points, but Storm Shield and Power Sword.
And old school
pretty solid.
Artificer armor, 2
yeah,
plus save.
2 up is they're solid.
That's nice.
If you're running a castle with a lot of characters, they're not a bad option.
So what are they for 2? Like 100 points?
They're 30 points each, and you get 2.
Oh, that's so cheap.
So they're pretty cheap, but they have no guns. They have grenades only, so they're literally just bodyguards, which is good if you run a lot of characters like me.
Or if you're facing Raven Guard a lot.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah. Chaplain Cassius, I think he's the oldest living Space Marine.
That's the underdog in
Ultramarine.
In all of 8th edition.
Yeah, with the new changes to Chaplains, he's probably the best one, simply because he's only 10 more points than a base Chaplain, and he gets to send out 2 prayers, or whatever they're called. Litanies. Yeah.
2 of them. Oh.
2.
So good.
So yeah, those are quite good. He also gives the leadership buff and all the other normal Chaplain things, and he starts with a master-crafted bolt gun, so a little nicer there, and an Artificer Crozius. So again, instead of 1 damage, it's 2.
He gets little
buffs,
equipment buffs, but
plus he has
really
a combi flamer. So
2 litanies. That's
you stick him behind
crazy.
something, and
so good.
They're very good. They're very powerful.
Yeah, he's kind of toying around with a relic Leviathan. Just giving it +1 to hit, +1 to wound.
Yeah, they can move and hit on 2s.
So good.
It +1 to wound against the closest. You're already strength 7, so you're chopping up infantry right and left.
It's I'd say he's the sleeper. No one's really talking about this.
He's one of the better ones as far as the characters are concerned, especially for his points. 85 points. He's tough too. He's T5, so. Then Captain Sicarius, he's actually the only named guy I don't have, but he changes a lot in each edition. But 8th, I could see him being all right. I'm not quite sure how many points
Is he just that classic captain model that's been around?
Yeah, he's like
the
holding his
banner
helmet,
backpack?
and he has a sword facing down. He does have a special sword. It used to be cooler. It used to have like a chance to instant death you, but it was not likely. But now he just gets to choose an Ultramarines unit within 6 at the start of the battle round, each battle round, and they gain Defenders of Humanity, which is objective secured. So kind of cool. You could make your Hellblaster squad or like a Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Go, as long as the
pack of Reavers, something,
yeah,
10-man pack.
So yeah, I mean it's an okay ability.
And he's probably pretty cheap.
I bet he's a little over 100. I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
I've never seen you use him. I don't think I've ever seen you use the Honor Guard either.
Yeah,
though you have brought the new.
I do have them, but
you
they're
have
all
brought
gray.
the new Chapter Master.
But he has a cool little weapon. It's just a special power sword, and when you roll a 6 to wound, it inflicts D3 mortal wounds instead of normal damage.
Not in addition. That's tricky.
Yeah, well, it's only -3 D3, so it's just essentially
just D3
power blast instead of you get a save. So yeah, pretty solid. I usually don't bring him because I feel like, I mean, he only gives reroll 1s. He's a captain, not a chapter master. Yeah. So I'd rather either bring Calgar or just a normal captain.
And honestly, spending points on
sword.
People with special combat abilities in an Ultramarines army that's usually a gun line.
You want guns because of the Codex discipline. You can back out and shoot. I mean, of combat. You suffer a -1, but there's a few ways around that. Stratagems. I think there's a warlord trait with a bubble effect of backing out. So.
And you want a couple guys that can hit hard. That's one nice thing about Goldman is he's giving out those buffs, and then if your opponent gets there, you're like, hold on, pull my sword.
He's going to chop you up.
Yeah. Speaking of that Codex discipline, it's underrated. People hype up the other stuff, but the reason I love it so much, the whole you can leave combat and still shoot. You're at a -1 to hit, but you still can shoot all your guns. The reason I love it so much is it gives you a reason to bring the old metal box vehicles. Yeah, without the fly keyword.
They're probably one of the only chapters that can kind of count on them. You can still get wrapped up and you can't leave combat because you don't have fly like all the new fancy Primaris stuff. But
so even if you were going to bring the fancy the new way people build top tier Space Marine armies, now you're talking Centurions that can back out of combat and still shoot.
Yeah,
like it's so good.
It's solid, especially moving on to the next named character, Sergeant Chronos. He, in a vehicle backing out of combat and shooting, you're still hitting on 3s. I mean, you put him in a Land Raider Crusader, he's gonna do a lot of work for you.
And you can put him in any non-forge rolled vehicle?
Yeah, his list is Rhino, Razorback, Predator, Vindicator, Whirlwind, Hunter, Stalker, and Land Raider. And he's 30 points, I think, maybe 35. He lets the ballistic skill of the vehicle never change. It's always a 2+.
So good.
And he heals it 1 wound a turn. And then if they kill the vehicle, he exits like a normal disembarking passenger. And if he's still alive after that, he's just kind of a little basic Marine with a couple wounds.
Can he repair? Is he like a tech?
No, he has a servo arm, but it's just for fighting.
Nice.
And he can't hop in anything else. But he's a great choice for an HQ. I mean, I think he's probably the cheapest of any Space Marine HQ.
He's your favorite, everywhere. I feel like.
It's
great. Amazing. It's basically passed, but can't be bracketed. Like, you put him in a DACA Land Raider, in a Crusader, and shoot all 40 shots that hit on 2s.
Yeah, and you stick him near a couple characters, and his efficiency goes through the roof.
Yeah, I feel like you can get the same guns a Crusader has on the Storm Raven, and then you don't have to worry about being tied up in combat, but when you're Ultramarines, you don't ever have to worry about being tied up in combat.
Right.
You can just back out as long as they don't surround you. You can just back out of combat and unload, and we've seen it. I play against him a lot. I've seen it so many times. It's so deadly. We have another battle report out where he took Sergeant Chronos in a Land Raider against Harlequins, and it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
Harlequins didn't want that smoke.
The amount of shots is brutal.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
And starting at a 2 up to hit and ignoring the move and shoot penalty in a Land Raider, even if you face modifiers, you're not going to be worse than 4s to hit now. So that's pretty solid.
And you're starting to kind of see the real push for Ultramarines is these named characters. I mean, yes, an army like Raven Guard is very, very good, but they have one named character, Shrike, and that's it. Whereas you get 5+.
Yeah, I think it's 6 with the Goldman as well.
And they're all good. Like, they all help your army so much.
Yeah. I think the last one besides Goldman we haven't talked about is Teleon, the Scout Sergeant. And he's pretty solid. A little pricey, in my opinion, coming in at 65 points. But if you want, and again, another cheap HQ, he's not a bad choice. He is just like a Scout, 4 wounds.
Camo cloak.
He does come with a camo cloak built in. He has the concealed position, so he can start 9 inches away from enemies in their deployment zone. And then his Voice of Experience is his little special thing where he gets to pick an Ultramarine scout unit within 3 inches, and their ballistic skill is 2+. So essentially +1 to hit, but worded a little differently.
So you could get a 10-pack of scouts with sniper rifles. And
hitting on 2s. And then if you have rerolls by them, you're going to be killing some characters. It's not bad.
Problem is it costs as much as a scout unit, right?
Yeah, if you bring a scout unit with just sniper rifles like I do,
right?
No camo cloaks, they're 65 points. So he's a 5 of them. So he's a whole 5 scouts. But he does shoot twice with...
fancy gun, right?
Yeah, it's strength 4, -2, flat 2 damage. Can target characters, 36-inch range, so a little longer range. He hits on 2s, obviously. And on a wound roll of a 6, he inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to other damage, just like a sniper.
It has 2 damage and can target characters, so...
It's not horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take out a Primaris guy or 2 real quick.
Yeah, or even just like, aren't there little 4-wound Psychers in Eldar? The Warlock.
Oh, yeah.
So you could pick on those guys.
Yeah, any fragile kind of Eldar or guard characters.
Like him, he only has 4 wounds, so he's a little fragile.
He's a scout.
4 wounds nowadays is like that's a scary area to have only 4 wounds because there's so many snipers now.
Yeah, and he only has a 4-up armor, so if they're ignoring cover or something, he's toast pretty quick. He's not bad, especially if you bring a scout bubble or a bunch of scouts. He's not bad.
I can see him being fun to try out, though.
Oh, he's definitely good. He's fun. You would probably want to bring like 20 scout snipers, 2 10-packs, and just kind of park them somewhere and say, okay.
I could even see a cheap unit of like 10 scouts with bolters, and the scout leader has a storm bolter, and he's just going, you guys hit on 2s. Yeah. Just spit some hate out.
Yeah, you can get a lot of shots if you want. Especially with the Scions of Goldman rule, where if you don't, or you can move and still shoot as if you didn't with bolter discipline. So that's bolter drill, whatever it's called. Pretty good. He's solid. I don't think he's overpowered, Teleon, but
time to talk about the best one. He was the other direction. Tyranids.
There's one other.
There is one more.
No, there's one other unit that's Ultramarine specific. They're kind of silly. They're super fluffy. That's all they are. The Tyrannic War veterans, and they're basically just veterans. Just I think they have not even one more leadership. But they get special issue bolt guns, so strength 4 -2 1 damage. But they get reroll all hit and all wounds against Tyranids. so if there's a lot of Tyranids in your meta,
just be that guy and be like, sorry, man. I mean, there's a lot of armies out there that get buffs against like Slanesh specifically, like all the Eldar.
I think the Ultramarines have a word bearer specific stratagem, and you're like, I've never even seen anyone field word bearers.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But there are a lot of Tyranid players. So.
I do like it when the fluff makes it into the rules.
Do you think that would work fine against Gene Stealer Colts?
Yeah, if it has the word Tyranid in it. It just said against a Tyranids unit. So if it has that keyword, then
if your meta has Gene Stealer Colts that bring a lot of units of Tyranids, or
10-pack of these guys might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on their price point, and you can find something to do if you're not playing against Tyranids.
I mean, the strength 4 -2 1 damage at 30 inches is pretty good because you're shooting twice with each guy.
I mean, keep in mind they're not Primaris, so they have one
wound. Their leadership's great. Their attacks are pretty solid. I mean, they have as many attacks as Primaris. Okay. Because they're veterans, but. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bring him if you don't play Tyranids.
Bane of Tyranids. That's cool.
But then, my personal favorite, and probably the best overall, besides maybe Cassius, is Chief Librarian Tigurius. And Nick knows he's a pain to play against.
Well, I mean, like you've talked about this in a post-game wrap-up between the Harlequins, is that when you're relying on a librarian and those spells, so many factors play into it. You could be playing Tyranids where they're giving you the -1.
I personally don't love Psychers.
Yeah.
But
any random roll, he just hands out -1 to hit to a unit.
Yeah,
you
within 6 inches at the beginning of the battle round, you go, this Ultramarines unit is -1 to shoot against and in combat. So
and people used to argue, well, my Raven Guard do that anyway. Not anymore. Now your Raven Guard just cover. So to be able to point at a Storm Raven and be like, now it's -2 to hit.
Or a Leviathan Dreadnought and go
a Leviathan,
-1.
A Leviathan that also can pop a strat to where it has damage.
Yeah.
It's just, you can cater your whole force around him. Like every other non-Terminator armor librarian, he has no invul, so that's his only real downside. But
unlike a lot of the other characters, I think Cassius and definitely Sicarius affect almost any army build. Whereas, if you bring Telion, you're bringing scouts. You're just,
right,
you
or at least one unit for him to babysit.
And like if you're bringing Chronos, you're obviously bringing a vehicle.
If you're going to bring Calgar, you just want as many shooty things around him because he's a chapter master.
And you want to probably advance up the field when you're paying that many points for a beast.
Boxing fists.
Dude, I mean, he's good in combat. And then instead of... oh yeah, no, you do have damage to him as well. Huh.
Calgar?
All damage.
So he's just like Abaddon.
Yeah.
He's a lot like Abaddon. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's solid. He's definitely
Yeah, because he only has one less wound than Goldman, but still
having damage.
Does he have a 3-up invul?
4-up.
Alright, well.
So 2-up, 4-up, but still, he's T5, which is nice because he's Primaris now. So he's definitely good, but... and Chief Librarian Sicarius is Primaris now as well.
5 wound librarian.
So he's 5 wounds, 3-up save, no invul. We'll get to the spells in a second because there is a chapter-specific discipline, the Indomitus discipline, that is okay. I prefer, the way I play my Ultramarines, I prefer the regular discipline out of the Codex, the Librarius discipline, I think. Where is it?
You're probably right.
I think that's it. Anyway.
So, I'll look for it.
It's good. Sicarius is solid, though, because, again, he gets to pick a unit -1, and the Hood of Hellfire, his named Psychic Hood, just adds 1 to deny and Psychic tests. So even if the Psyker isn't within 12 inches, he's still adding 1 to the deny.
Wow.
So it's like a double the range on your deny, and it allows you to reroll the result of your Psychic tests. Not deny the witch. But it doesn't say failed. So like if you roll a 12 in perils and you're like, he's going to die or that's not that important, you can re-roll it without command points. Or if you fail it, you can re-roll it.
Or if you roll like a 7 on smite and you really want to go for that 12, that super smite.
Yep.
You only got to roll an 11 because he's adding +1.
Yeah, or 10. Yeah.
And then the Master of Prescience or Prescience, whatever.
Yeah, that's the one where he gives the -1 out to an Ultramarines unit.
Is it just shooting? No, until the
just period. It's still
I'd like to know the fluff of that. Is he like shrouding them in
because he can see the future. He tells them exactly what to do.
When to dodge and when to take cover.
Yeah, so he's really good. I like running him with Might of Heroes to buff whatever you need. You can get a Relic Leviathan up to T9 and -1 to hit. Pretty tough.
Or if you don't want to go cheesy, like we said, all these buffs work really well on a Storm Raven.
Yeah,
a -2 to hit
-2
Storm Raven.
So that's really good. I always take Null Zone because it's kind of like a must.
I run Harlequin.
It's one of the best spells. It's just a 6-inch bubble. Enemies can't take invulnerable saves. So anything you're scared of getting close to you that's tough is no longer tough.
He'll run out and do it to my group of Chaos Knights.
Yeah,
he shoot him down.
He usually has to sacrifice himself, but
he does die almost every game. But that's because I know how good he is, and I need to kill him.
And to get within 6 inches, you're in the danger zone. Then after that, if I'm taking the Librarian's Discipline, I just kind of pick one of the
maybe Veil,
or the spells that do more mortal wounds. In case he wants to do Smite, just mortal wound cannon. Depending on who you're playing, Psychic Fortress is amazing. It just if you play against Grey Knights. Demons that cast a lot, or Eldar. It's just one unit gets a 4-up against mortal wounds in the psychic phase. So if you're worried about smite spam and you got a nice big screen up in front, they all of a sudden get a 4-up.
But it's just psychic phase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the Chaplains have a buff that just gives you a 5-up against mortal wounds, which is really good too.
You're playing like Admet, Castle, and Robots with Wrath of Mars. You can pop that up.
Or even Psychers, or like because the Hemlock Wraith fighters can move and flank you and smite and all that. So
basically, the big downside is no invul, but if they gave him a strong invul, he'd have to go way up in points.
Yeah, he's only
very
130.
Good. He's very good.
And he's an invul. 5 wounds. So that brings me to the point of the Indomitus discipline. You can give him an invul, and it's not. I mean, you have to go one discipline or the other. You can't pick and choose. Okay. So I almost never run this one, but it does have some good spells. The first one is Precognition, where it only targets the Psyker. Warp charge of 5, so he's going to cast it damn near every time. And it gives them a 5-up invul and -1 to hit. So if you want him to be a combat guy, he's actually decent, starting at 4 attacks with +1 for shock assault. His weapon is +3 strength, -3, D3 damage. So strength 7, hitting on 3s. I mean, he's not.
This is Ultramarines only.
This is Ultramarines only.
So he's the best one to give this exact spell to, because you have to give it to yourself.
Yeah, it's Psyker only.
I mean, can you imagine if like
-2 to hit?
If you could take like Librarian Dreadnoughts and they could give themselves that.
Yeah,
he could give himself -2 to hit if you really got to go in and hit people with his staff, which is still pretty good.
It's solid.
-3 AP staff.
Yeah, it's good. So that's a fun one if you want to have a smashy Librarian. The next one is actually a really good spell. I'm kind of bummed I can't take it because I like the other discipline more. But it's casting value of 7, so a little hard. Again, with Tigurius' +1 and rerolls, he'll get it. But you can either immediately gain a command point, which is great, or if you choose not to, once this turn, when resolving an attack made by a friendly Ultramarines unit within 18 inches of the Psyker, you can reroll one hit, wound, or damage roll. So not horrible. A free reroll or a free command point. So
it's the same thing basically.
Yeah, or
you can use the command point on stratagems. So
or the command point reroll and this reroll. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it has versatility. It's a solid spell.
Versatility is something you'll see very common with the Ultramarines.
That's kind of what they do. Telepathic Assault. It's okay. It's kind of a super smite. It's a 7. Select one enemy unit within 24 invisible, so you can target characters with it.
Nice.
You roll 2d6 and add 2 to the result, and they suffer 1 mortal wound for each. The difference in leadership. So it's not great because I mean most
24
characters.
Inches, though.
Yeah, but most characters are rocking an 8.
You have to do a character.
No, but
right. I think if you're against like orcs and you're just
they're like leadership 28 or whatever because they get those stupid aura buffs.
Yeah, but what if you were to target what if you target like an orc dreadnought?
Maybe.
They probably
I don't know if
6 or something.
I don't know if they have that rule. The Flyers or something.
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, it's not horrible, or it's really good against like stuff with low leadership that's scary. Not low, but 7 or 8, like vehicles. Mm-hmm. You can just go, okay. You take 2 mortal wounds, or if you roll high, you could do like 5. Mm-hmm. But it's okay. It's not great. I'd probably just smite. Storm of the Emperor's Wrath is it's for anti-horde. That's a pick a unit within 18s, cast on a 6. You roll a d6 for each model in the unit, and a 6 causes a mortal wound. So
it's a horde.
Yeah, it's anti-horde. Mm-hmm. It's not bad. It's not great.
Another good thing against Tyranids.
Psychic Shackles is pretty good. They also have a better spell on the Obscuration discipline, which is the Phobos discipline, if you bring a Phobos librarian. But if you don't want to do that, Psychic Shackles is 1 enemy unit within 18. You have their move characteristic and subtract 1 from charge and advance rolls. So, but you're already within 18, so they're pretty damn close.
Okay.
But if they were a kind of slow unit, like orcs, they're only moving 6. They're all of a sudden just moving 3, and then you get a couple minuses in there. So not horrible, depending on your opponent. And this one is interesting, the last one, but you got to bring at least 2 Psychers, but it's pretty solid. And it's Empiric Channeling. It's a cast on a 5, so real easy. You pick a friendly librarian within 12, Ultramarines librarian. You get to add 2 to psychic tests taken for them. So pretty solid. And you can never perils. You're immune to perils for that turn. So, wow. Not bad, especially if you're going for some super smite on librarian. You can get a +3 on him.
It's very similar to things you can do in like Zinch or 1000 Suns.
Right, it just, the way I feel about Psychers is like you're only going to pay 100 points to buff your other 100 and whatever point guy, and he does one thing that works but just does 3 mortal wounds. Like, cool, I spent 200 points in my army doing that. Like, it's fun. If you want to play fluffy and narratively and bring a lot of Psychers, definitely a solid spell.
Yeah.
Definitely solid.
Psychers, at least in a Space Marine context, should be a cherry on top, not the basis of your battle plan. Because things are going to go wrong. Even if your battle plan has Magnus and 10 sorcerers, things go wrong.
Yeah,
like,
you will fail spells, you will perils, it happens.
You just can't focus. I don't think, just in Warhammer right now, this isn't 6 and 7th where you can cast invisibility on a Death Star that just wins you the game.
Yeah.
Like, you have to use it to your advantage, but don't expect it.
Right. It's nice, but don't rely on it.
That's why I agree with you. Just find the points in your list for Tyranids and leave it at that.
Yeah.
You don't need to go
he's
overboard.
amazing. You could justify bringing a Psyker in almost any list.
As far as the obscuration discipline, I think, in my opinion, as Space Marine meta goes further and further towards Phobos and all these hidden guys everywhere, and eliminators, suppressors, all this Phobos stuff, I think Ultramarines are more the old school choice. You want tanks and lines of guns backed up by characters that are good at fighting. I don't really see much Phobos synergy with Ultramarines.
No, there's not a ton. They're more sneaky, board control-y. Like, they're
Whereas,
good at it. They're definitely good.
I think it'd be good to have... But, I mean, even you use scouts to get board control, so, like, you don't really... I don't know. I don't think Phobos and Ultramarines are necessarily made to meld like Raiden Guard and Phobos. So,
yeah, they're very good. I guess that brings us to the big man himself, the last named character and the first of the Primarchs. Mr. Goldman.
Yeah.
He is just so nasty. He's great. The model's beautiful. He used to be a little better, but I get it. He was too good at rerolling all wounds.
Yeah, he's 400 points and he'd kill 800 points, so they had to tone him down a little bit. He went down in points.
He went down 50 points, and he still has all the same other rules. The only thing they changed was he's a lieutenant now, so he rerolls ones and all hits for Ultramarines. He also gives out buffs to the Imperium. The 12-inch bubble is a decent reason to take him. I mean, even in the Knight Army, he's letting all your Knights reroll ones.
Reroll ones and add an inch to their charge, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it can be fun. He's a solid character. He's tough to kill at 9 wounds with T6.
There's one big change that is under the radar that we have not had a chance to try yet, is that he gives out a bubble of allowing all of your units to pile in 6 and heroically intervene.
Yeah, he's your warlord.
Mm-hmm. That's underrated because, like Space Wolves get to heroically intervene 6. This says units, not characters. So all of a sudden, if people get to your gun line, they got to fight all your Space Marines. Right. They're all coming in, and you might as well because you can back out and shoot. So just pile in, hit people with your guns.
Yeah, it's pretty. Back out. It's pretty handy. And if he is your warlord, you get +3 command points. So just a ton. Hey, he wrote the Codex. I mean, come on, he's the author. That's literally what it's called, author of the Codex.
It's now you don't see him as much because when you're really min-maxing your list, people really have to think about 350 points.
That's a lot of points.
10 Hellblasters.
So. Basically, he's so many points you want to get him into combat. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to build your list around being kind of a midfield list, which isn't horrible. I mean, you bring Hellblasters and they get in that sweet 15-inch rapid fire and just start deleting stuff.
I bring him with my combat. Marine Army as like a little allied buddy, just because my whole goal is to get in there and fight. Right. He's very good at fighting.
And then if you're focusing on them versus him, he'll get there. Or if you're focusing on him versus all your Reavers, they'll get there.
Also, his fist is now flat 4. I'm not sure it always was. It seems new to me.
I think his fist damage used to be -1 to hit. I think,
but it was always 4 damage.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Maybe it was.
There's going to be times where. The sword typically is better because it does all the mortal wounds. And
it's -4.
But there might be times where you really just want 12 strength instead of 8 strength.
Yeah, so the way I like to get around using the fist, because I love the sword, just you roll those more 6s to wound or D3 mortal wounds in addition to flat 3. Like, it's gross. Is you bring him with, say, Sicarius, and you give him the Might of Heroes, where he gets +1 strength, toughness, and attacks. So all of a sudden, he's up to 8 attacks round 1, 8 attacks at strength 9, rerolling all hits and wound rolls of 1.
And that's with the Angry Marines bonus.
Yeah, that's the shock assault.
Yeah, shock assault. So 8, that's he's gonna solo a knight or at least get it to bottom bracket by himself.
Fight again
if he gets killed,
or if he doesn't.
Fight again now.
For command points, you use 3 or 2, and then boom, he fights again with another 8 attacks and kills.
Yeah,
he kills.
It's 3 if he doesn't die, 2 if he does die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like you've always known, he can come back to life.
Yeah. Once
he's failed every time I've tried it, but
yeah.
I've seen Noah do it a bunch of times.
You always want to save your command point for it because you want him back on the field. But yeah, the first time he dies, you can return him to where he was on a 4+ at the end of the phase in which he died, with D6 wounds remaining. So I love saving the command point for that, because if you needed to resurrect him on the 4-up, you use it, and if you don't use it there, you have it available for the D6 wounds, because 1 wound, but 1 or 2, probably re-rolling that. Mm-hmm. But you get like 5 again, I mean, that means they have to chew through 14 wounds of his. And the toughness bonus for Might of Heroes is pretty nice. I mean, T7, it's nothing special, but it's solid.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, I guess there's some T7 guns that you'd benefit from making them wound on 4s.
Yeah.
But he's great. I mean, he's not an auto take like, say, Sicarius or even, Cassius. In my opinion, Chronos.
Chronos is great. Pay the points for.
I mean, I would take Sicarius, Cassius, and Chronos in every 2,000 point list because their synergy is perfect.
Yeah,
they're so good. You just have to decide which chapter master you want to bring, whether that's Goldman or who's the other main chapter master? Calgar.
Marnius Calgar. He's good. I don't bring him much because if I'm doing that route, I usually just do.
So when you're looking at how powerful different Space Marine chapters are with their free bonuses, you could argue that they're not at the top, but their special characters really, in my opinion, bring them past the other ones. I do think, yes, +1 damage against vehicles if your Emperor's Fists is amazing, and +1 to hit and wound against characters if your Raven Guard is amazing.
Yeah, Salamanders have some fun tricks too with flamers and stuff like that. So.
But just being able to leave combat and still shoot. I mean, think if you had flamer aggressors.
Yeah.
First of all, people are gonna take that Overwatch, and then if you survive, you get to back out and flame them again.
And aggressors just got a wound, so they're a lot more survivable now. So.
And these other armies with aggressors, all people have to do is like tag them, like find a way to get into combat with them without taking that Overwatch.
Right.
And they're stuck. They're power fists.
They're okay at combat,
but Ultramarines, they get to fight and then back out and shoot all their guns. Like, I don't know, it's
there's actually a stratagem. If you want to, it allows the unit to ignore the penalty to backing out and shooting and charge back in.
So don't feel like you need to take flame weapons with Ultramarines. They're good with DACA.
I love Hellblasters.
And speaking of stratagems, in my opinion, the people that are still putting these other armies ahead of Ultramarines don't play against Ultramarines enough. They have a stratagem that turns them into Tau, where everyone can shoot Overwatch.
It's the so defensive focus, and it's nice because even if they're making the unit they're charging ignore Overwatch, you still can use this stratagem. It's 2 command points, so again, probably only castle armies are going to use it, or if you bubble up your power. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's use a stratagem after an Ultramarines unit from your army is chosen as the target of a charge. Select up to 3 other friendly Ultramarines units that are more than 1 inch away from enemies and within 6 inches of the targeted unit. So the selected units may fire Overwatch.
So that's 4 total.
4 units, even if you're making the one that you're charging ignore, it's still 3.
And those 4 are probably in both Lieutenant and Captain reroll levels.
That's when the Chapter Masters are clutch, is Overwatch, because you reroll all the hits.
Yeah.
So Overwatch becomes twice.
That's amazing. That cannot, if you're a glutton for punishment player like me, who collects almost all combat armies, this is gonna kill you every time. This just breaks my heart every time he uses it.
I played Logan, the guy who has Grey Knights on our channel, and he was sad because he deep struck in 3 Grandmasters. One of them died immediately because I did the Auspex scan with a unit of Hellblasters, and he didn't roll hot, but still it was.
And you must have.
I killed him. Yeah. I mean, hitting on 4s, re-rolling everything, and you're still.
And you probably overheated and shot supercharged plasma
with the banner. Oh yeah. But anyway, then he charged me, and I used that stratagem and killed another one.
It cannot be understated. Like it is.
It's one of the more powerful ones, because you really, even though you can back out and shoot, you don't want to suffer that -1. Marines are okay in combat, especially Primaris. They're a little resilient, but they don't want to be there typically. They're not.
Right. Because you're going to lose some models.
Yeah.
If an army's trying that hard to get in combat with Primaris Marines, they're probably good at killing Primaris Marines.
Yeah.
So you're going to lose some models, but this is the one army that's not scared. They're going to Overwatch the best. they're gonna fight okay. They have good defense, and then they're gonna back out and shoot you again. So, and the characters are all good at fighting. Because guess what? This army could still be backed up by like Smash Captains if you need to.
Yeah,
they can jump in and
you lose
whack them all with their hammer. Like
doctrines, but or not.
No, like just Ultramarine Smash Captains.
Ultramarine Smash Captains aren't
they're
bad.
fine. Yeah,
they're not bad.
Attack. Or if you want to go cheaper, just swap the Thunder Hammer for Power Fist.
Yeah, they're actually really good. Yeah, they're 31 points cheaper.
Yeah,
they're
walk in and punch stuff.
And you're, if you're Chapter Master, the -1 to hit, kind of hurts, but you're still hitting on 3s, re-rolling everything.
Or what we've been doing with both armies is Relic Blades. Relic Blades are great.
They're pretty solid for 9 points. I mean,
+2 strength, D3 damage.
-3.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
good.
put it on everybody. But they're strats. What's some other good ones?
So another solid one. I don't use it a ton, but because I bring a lot of characters. But if you don't, you can just increase a Chapter Master, Captain, or Lieutenant's aura by 3 inches for phase. Yeah, fight or shooting phase for 1 CP. Not great, not horrible. I mean, if you really had to stretch your army out or misplaced something, it's a good backup.
I was thinking all the Space Marines had that. It's just Ultramarines.
I believe so. Yeah. There might be
that's
one.
handy.
I think there's a Primaris relic you can take that does it, but for any chapter. But that one's pretty cool. Another one I don't use a lot because I don't bring like las cannons or repulsors, but it can be clutch, especially if you're playing like Eldar or stuff that's -2 to hit. It's just one of your shots in the shooting phase. Auto hits for 1 CP. So
what?
Yeah, it's just one shot though. So, it's not one weapon.
So even if it's a Repulsor Executioner,
it's one of the D6 shots.
Or one of the 4 shots.
Yeah, whatever they have.
Yeah.
So, good? No. Or great? Nah. But decent and situational, we're like most Ultramarines. Yeah. And or if you just really needed to kill that one thing, you're like, okay.
Yeah. Or a flyer that's -3.
Yeah, well, you can only be -2 now, right?
Right, yeah. So, -2, still, you get to go. Just auto hit it. Just get it out of here.
Or if you get bracketed as a vehicle, it just lets I'm hit on 5s. Oh crap, no I'm not. Boom, let's hit you once at least. It's not bad, especially if you have a lot of CPs or you're regenerating them, which is what the Ultramarines Warlord trait lets you do. So use that, it's great. Inspiring Command, we already talked about that. The other really good one that's Ultramarine specific, I think, other than their defensive focus for multiple Overwatch, is Rapid Redeployment. So you get to use this after the seize roll, but before the game begins. If you want 2 command points, you choose 3 Ultramarines units and redeploy them. It's I've tricked
Stormlord does with Tyranids.
I've tricked so many people. You just put your castle here, and you put your characters kind of to one side, so they're going to be able to run over here, and then you just pick it up and move the castle over here if you go first, and their stuff's either in line of sight, you're in range of it, you're away from their scary
stuff. If they
counter-deploy
you and try to get away from you, now you get to go, no, I'm in your face.
When you seize the initiative, this is gross. Because you seize it, you've already gotten to counter-deploy a little, and you get to redeploy. It can be not game-breaking, but it can be very, very crippling.
It can be the start of possibly game-winning.
Yeah, it can, if you are playing the right opponent or they're relying on something.
Underrated. Deployment's underrated. It can win you games if you deploy right and your opponent deploys wrong.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot. That's a huge...
It's a good one. It's a little pricey, and you don't get to regen command points because it's before the game. But I still think it's one of their better specific stratagems. And there's some ones we haven't talked about, and depending on how you build your army, you might take advantage of them. But we're trying to keep the videos relatively short, so we're not going to go through everything.
If you're a new player and you're thinking, I don't know about the flying tanks and all the sneaky Phobos guys, and you're thinking, I just want marching Centurions and Hellblasters and Primaris Intercessors, and lots of DACA.
The older vehicles and stuff are a little less pricey.
Yeah, you get maybe you want 4. Yeah, exactly. maybe you want a 4 las cannon Predator, but it just keeps getting tied up when you use it as other chapters. This is the chapter for you.
Yeah, and you throw Chronos in it, and it hits on 2s.
Right. So if you want tactical flexibility, as many characters as you could ever want.
Yeah, one of basically each kind. I mean,
and if you add the name to the non-named, you have like 30 characters.
Oh, you could lead a whole army of just characters for Ultramarines.
You want Hero Hammer and not these Space Wolves? Then
but Ultramarines aren't bad at
it. And then if you want to take a little message from him, Daka, not las cannons. He just floods the board with dice.
Yeah,
he still brings hell blasters, but
it's silly.
There's just so many rerolls and so much synergy and stratagems. Such good stratagems.
Oh, and any Space Marine chapter should bring a Relic Leviathan Dreadnought with 2 Storm Cannon Rays. It's 303 points, and you'll never regret it.
Yeah,
it's expensive. Forge World is pricey, but if you're willing to dip your toe in,
I could see
it wins.
Yeah, if your meta's full of Primaris, he's like made to kill Primaris.
He'll delete a whole 10-pack no matter what.
He was split firing and killing 2 units a turn of Primaris.
You get 20 shots. They're strength 7, -2, flat 2, but you start in the heavy doctrine, so it's -3. And then you're giving him the +1 to hit and +1 to wound, ideally, from Cassius right behind him. And
Might of Heroes?
Yeah, and then you give him Might of Heroes and a -1 to hit from Tigurius, and all of a sudden he's a T9, -1 to hit, 2-up save, 4-up invul, shoots 20 strength 7 shots. Like, it's just dumb.
300 killer missiles.
If you want to pay for
heavy flamers.
Yeah, 2 heavy flamers if things get close. The +1 to wound litany is only at the closest target, so but still not bad. And his range is short with the storm cannons. It's 24, but that's why you want to give him the +1 to hit, so he can move and shoot and still be hitting on 2s. So I mean,
I just ordered one.
Yeah, they're gross. They're gross.
I'm gonna use it in Space Wolves. He doesn't even get all those bonuses. He's good enough even without the bonuses.
Yeah,
just to cover my Space Wolves while they're running at you screaming. But
yeah, he's
Ultramarines. They're really
solid.
good, guys.
They're solid.
In my opinion, people aren't talking about them enough because they probably just don't play against them a lot. Because I've noticed a lot of new players are leaning towards building their own chapter and then just cherry picking the best.
2 rules.
The best 2 rules, and then if they think, I think I'd really enjoy hunting characters, then they're always going to be successors of Raven Guard. But if you if you're one of these people online that I see in the comments a lot that are mad about all the Primaris and you love your old school models, this is the army for you.
Yeah, it's
boxes with covered in guns that don't have flag keyword, but they can still back out and shoot. It's great.
It's a lot of fun to play with them. You really don't see them a lot. Like, people are kind of surprised when you bring a Land Raider, and then it kills a whole unit every turn with ease.
Yeah, and then when they shoot back, they go, oh yeah, I forgot these things have 16 wounds with a 2-up.
Yeah, and if Tigurius is by it, they can be T9 and -1 to hit. So he's a great, what is the word I'm looking for?
Force multiplier?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He'll do it in any army.
Yep.
Just bring Tigurius and you won't be sad.
Yeah.
He's $40 brand new, so he's expensive. He's one of the
GW, man.
That's what they're doing.
The pose is so good. The model's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, he's good. He's solid. He's intimidating, and he's bigger. So
you're gonna get him painted up so we can get him on the field soon.
Hopefully, yeah.
We'll have a little paint session soon. And get him
he's not too bad. He's like a third done.
Yeah. So that's Ultramarines for you guys. And if you're a fan of our channel, you're gonna see them because they're his main army.
Plus they're painted.
And
2,000 points.
For the most part, are painted, and they're just they're the classic. There's a reason they're on the cover. This is not the Ultramarines book. This is the Space Marine book. They're both Ultramarines.
Oh, and back. It's everywhere.
It's all Ultramarines.
It's their flagship chapter. It's been in the game since
they just decided they love painting blue.
I mean, it's a hilarious name too. Ultramarines.
That's right.
So aggressive.
Oh, your Marines were Ultramarines.
Right.
And if you do like the idea of cherry picking your successor chapters, they have some good ones.
Aurora chapter. They're the biggest founding chapter.
Nova Marines. If you want to be tricky with your paint jobs and do the quartered paint job, the Nova Marines.
No thanks.
I do like the fluff of Aurora chapter because they specialize in whole armies of vehicles. And if you're going to do that, you should be Ultramarine so you can back out and still shoot.
Yeah.
So the Aurora chapter, if you just don't like the color blue, you be green
Ultramarines. Everyone will think you're salamanders. It'll be a nice little trick.
Speaking of which, if you are doing a successor chapter, you would still get the Scions of Goldman special rule, which is when you move and shoot with rapid fire weapons
and assault
weapons, you always count as standing still. So
unless you advance or fall back.
Right. So you still get that full range.
Yeah.
You never have to worry about that. So as you're marching
up, it's pretty scary.
As you're marching up the board, you can just always shoot the full amount of shots. It's really good.
Wait, have I just been totally not playing my Hellblasters right? Does that apply to them?
If it's rapid fire?
Oh, I think it's
something to do with
the tactical
It's in yours.
Either way, we can look that up later.
But Ultramarines, guys, don't sleep on them. If you're going to tournaments, I would say if you're going to a tournament with like 24 people, at least one's going to be Ultramarines, and it's probably going to be the characters we talked about huddled around a Leviathan Dreadnought. So you should figure out. There's a local guy here in the Midwest that brings that exact load.
He brings a lot of Phobos, which is more board control-y than I'd go for, but it's a solid list. And we didn't really get into their special relics or special issue war gear, but there's some useful stuff in there. You can either buff your guys up with better saves, throw out a few extra mortal wounds. The one I think is really good and you probably want to take if you bring a captain or chapter master is the Sancta Kalo.
Yep, that's what I was
3 up invul, and you get to deny 1 spell. It's pretty good. I mean, for free.
I think the cloak it gives a 5 up invul and you can heal D3.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. There's a couple really solid ones. I mean, again, nothing like game breaking, but
not like there's a basic Marine relic that just like shuts down the psychic phase. That one's like game breaking.
Yeah, I do like that
Depending
one.
on your opponent. Forget the name of it. But
they have some pretty good warlord traits too. The Adept of the Codex is the gain command points back.
CP farm.
That's always a good one. Calm Under Fire is the one we mentioned earlier. We didn't mention it by name, but when you back out, if you're within 6 inches of the guy with Calm Under Fire, you don't get the -1 to hit when you back out and
That's
shoot.
good for a
It's a
tank
pretty good
line.
one.
That's like Aurora Chapter.
Because you can also, with stratagems, pass out extra warlord traits. So if you see your opponent is going to roll up on you and wants to be in combat, that's a solid extra warlord trait to take.
If you go specific Ultramarine everything, I mean, you got spells that gain CP, you're going to be CP farming.
Yeah.
You got some of the best strats. It's a Swiss Army knife. It's good against everything. Great against... I'm not going to say great against nothing, because they are great against like half the armies out there. It's a very strong book.
Yeah, it is.
And when you look at the people at the top of these like, nationwide, worldwide tournaments, you don't see Ultramarines, but...
No, they're always soup, though, usually, for the most part.
But GW has made an effort every single edition to make Ultramarines, at least, in my opinion, in the top 10 of the best armies in the game.
Yeah, especially pure faction. If you're not including soup, like typically either Chaos, Eldari, or Imperium, obviously the big 3, mostly being Imperium.
Monofaction.
They're up there.
They're
Or even just Space Marines, if you just bring, White Scars, Salamanders, Ultramarines. They're powerful.
Yeah, without cherry picking the successor traits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though you lose stuff, they're still solid. But solo, they're up there.
Whereas, like, some of those armies, like Imperial Fists, you're going to be like so good against certain armies and okay against others.
Good.
Whereas Ultramarines are going to be, you're going to have a fighter's chance against everything in the game.
Yeah, you're never going to say, "Oh, good, I got the matchup I wanted."
Right.
You're going to say, "Okay, I played. I brought 30 Hellblasters against a Orcord and did all right. I ended up losing by 2 points, but 4 flyers and 120 orcs is a lot to cut through."
Yeah. It's not easy.
And I think a Morkanaut and some other stuff.
Oh, I played that guy too.
Yeah.
He was a good guy.
No, I liked his orcs. They were cool.
Yeah, I brought Necron Wraith spam to that tournament and did terrible.
Fun.
But it was fun. But yeah, Ultramarines guys, we're going to start doing this a little bit, at least with our main armies.
Yeah,
so
the ones we know real well.
Yes, that's why I let Noah do most of the talking, because this is his baby, the Ultramarines.
Yeah, I've been playing them since 5th edition. They're my first army, so yeah.
I'd like to go over one of my main ones, maybe Chaos Knights next.
Chaos Knights or maybe Admech. The big change to Canicles I thought was good for them. Mm-hmm. Well, good for soup.
Well, I've been trying to do better at uploading quickly, guys.
Yeah, so thank you for watching.
Yes, tune in, like, subscribe, hit the bell.
All the above.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. See you guys. Later.